Hello. Before I start this episode, just a heads up, if my voice is a little out of whack, it's because I'm still getting over a cold. Okay, that being said, let's get into it. Stepping into the wondrous beyond, past our earthly limitations into the unknown, is beautiful and mystical, and here are some of the movies and games that truly reflect our need to search for what's beyond the horizon. I'm Michael, and welcome to the Heart of. Today's episode is going to be about the beauty and wonder of science fiction. Now, recently I've been playing a lot of Starfield. Like, a lot of Starfield. Not a crazy amount, but definitely 30 hours worth. It's 30 hours worth. So I wanted to talk about what I find so fascinating about the genre, movies and games like it, and what is beautiful about looking at that going forward. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Star Trek, I find, is a beautiful, whether it's the movies, whether it's the TV shows, about humanity's need to search for what's beyond the stars. You have various incarnations: Star Trek, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and obviously the many movies. Where I think the heart of Star Trek lies in is searching, let's see what's out there. They're explorers at the heart of it. That's what the Federation is for, to search for new, interesting civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Now, I could do a rundown of the various captains and storylines, but I'm not going to. What I want to talk about is just the feeling that the show gives, and some episodes that I feel really, 100% give that feeling that make you understand that it's about exploration. And it's about searching for what's beyond. So, I'll dive into a TNG episode, more like 3 TNG episodes. Okay, 4 TNG episodes, and 2 of them will kind of be one and have like a finale, and then the 4th one will be on its own. So, the first 2 episodes is called The Best of Both Worlds. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, is the captain of the USS Enterprise D. And he and his crew are introduced to an enemy called the Borg. The Borg are a collective, and they assimilate. What does that mean? That means that if they find you, they assimilate you into their culture, into their way of life, so any trace of your individuality is gone. You are no longer your own, you are part of a collective, you are part of a hive. You have no individual free thought, you are part of a hive, you do what the hive suggests. So, Patrick Stewart is found, Picard is found, the crew is found, and he is taken, and he becomes Locutus, which is the mouthpiece for the Borg. And knowing his vast knowledge of the Federation, which is a group of allied planets. So you have, just a brief overview, you have the Federation, which is allied planets. You have the Klingons, you have the Romulans, you have different, factions. But those 3 are like the most well-known. And Picard becomes, I'm all over the place. I apologize. So, those are the factions. You have the Borg. They're one of the factions. Assimilation, we just went over that. And Picard becomes the mouthpiece. So they use his information. He blows up a bunch of Federation ships. They find him. They turn him. And on his healing process, he goes back to his family home in France. If I'm lolling a little bit, I'm just looking up a quote. And he has to heal. So he goes to his family home in France, and he's talking to his brother and his nephew. And his brother is a traditionalist, and his nephew is always looking out into the stars. And the idea is that there's always something more, and dealing with Picard's trauma and dealing with that, like, there's always something more. The beauty, there's this shot of his nephew just staring out into the stars, and his father saying, just let him dream a little longer. And what's inherent in us is to always look up at the stars and wonder if there's something more. And I find that absolutely beautiful. That, just looking up and wishing for something beyond. When something has us down here, it's just the need to search for what's beyond. And then, vice versa. Always, when you're out there, the idea that, like, you're always searching for that star that's called home. Where you currently are, you're always kind of looking at what's beyond the horizon. I find beautiful and moving. There's another episode, the fourth and final episode that I wanted to talk about is they find they're in space and they bump into this ethereal thing, and Picard gets connected with it, and he essentially has to live out an entire civilization before they all perish. And you get to see what happened to this civilization and what happened to them and the mistakes they made. And the idea is, like, this was left as a beacon to be like, this is who we were, so we're not forgotten in the vastness of space. Beautiful. Simply, truly beautiful. And I find something truly wonderful about making your mark in the empty black. I feel like there's so much to go into with Star Trek about, like, the beauty of beyond, the vastness of space, the beauty of the cosmos. And I feel like I will. Some of the movies definitely require more time and attention and love that I'm giving to them today. For example, The Wrath of Khan, The Undiscovered Country, First Contact. Those are excellent movies. Star Trek Generations. I know that's divisive, but I found that movie beautiful. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So, I will get back into Star Trek. I just wanted to give, like, a general overview of why I love it so much. The ever-reaching arm into the vastness of space. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Starfield. I've been playing Starfield for 30 hours. I have not finished Starfield, so this is almost like a half part of. So, what I love about Starfield is it starts with you're a miner, and you find this object, and you touch it, and your mind is thrown into, like, the deep corners of space, and you see, like, you hear this music, and you see the stars dancing, and you see these cosmos, and over the course of the game, each object you get like builds and completes this star chart, and get to see the star fields. And there's something wondrous about every time you get into your ship in that game and you blast off and the music starts to crescendo, and the thrusters, and you can feel the weight as they kick off and they blast into the unknown, and you get to go on a planet and you don't know what kind of ship is going to run into you. Are you going to run into an enemy fleet? Are you going to run into someone needing a tow? Are you going to run into someone who needs directions? Or are you going to run into a geologist who desperately needs rocks that you cannot provide them, and leaves you with a dad joke before her grab dive just kind of blows up and sends her somewhere else? I love flicking switches, the manualness of like, okay, I'm going to power up my grab drive, and I'm going to search, and I'm going to kick off, and I'm going to woo, and off I go. And just how the purples and the blues, and how like space literally opens up so you can like cut through it and find yourself at a planet. I find that deeply beautiful. And this idea that like you're not confounded to your you can, at any point you can jump onto your ship and just go. I find that remarkably, I've been using the word beautiful a lot lately for this episode, but I can't think of another word. Wondrous, beautiful, amazing, awe-inspiring. I guess I just did. So I truly love that idea that, and while I'm still navigating through the story, and the story really is, I find, very interesting, and the companions you meet on the way and their own individual journeys, but this idea, this search, you join this group called the Constellation, and this idea that their mission is to search for what's beyond, to search for new peoples, and not to take anything from them, but just to see that they exist, I find remarkably moving. Okay, let's keep on moving. I'm gonna omit Star Wars for a very particular reason. While the journey of Luke Skywalker looking up on that Tatooine desert to what's beyond and what could be in his life, to me, that's more the beauty and heart of Star Wars is the internal struggle between light and dark, between your desires, between what you know to be right, between sacrifice, between duty, the downfall of that. Anakin, I really want to get into Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker and their characters, but to me that's not, that's not the journey into the beyond. That's the journey into the self. That's the divide between what's good and bad. So, it's going to sound strange, but I'm going to omit Star Wars from this episode. Just so I feel like some people think in the back of their heads, like, where's Star Wars? That's where Star Wars is. It's in another episode. The last thing I'm going to leave us with is Mass Effect. Again, I apologize for my voice. Mass Effect is a trilogy of games with a fourth game that I don't think counts because it fumbled the ball. But again, I'm not going to get into that because this show's about positivity. And you play Commander Shepard. And what's like Starfield's, what's beautiful about it is your story is something you craft and something you decide. And the things I love about Starfield are the things I love about Mass Effect. This jumping into your ship, exploring new planets, new species, new aliens, making those aliens your friends, falling in love, getting to be with them, and then getting to unite against a greater threat. Every game's choices and decisions go into the next game. What you do in Mass Effect 1 will affect what you do in Mass Effect 2, which will affect what you do in Mass Effect 3, and ultimately how that story ends. And again, your Commander Shepard will be different from my Commander Shepard. And same thing with Starfield. Your Explorer will be different from my Explorer. what you decide to do in the vastness of space is your choice. I always found these games wondrous because it's what you choose to do in the stars that define you. So, I'm just caught me just looking off. But yeah, no, I find these games moving because it's not the action, it's not the set pieces, it's not the ship designs. They all help, immerse you, but it's the small moments. It's going to your console and looking at the vastness of the map. It's staring up into the sky and seeing the different constellations. It's the way the music crescendos. It's the way the music is still. It's the way you go to a planet and you see flora and fauna just being there naturally. It's the way your companion walks alongside you and reacts organically to what's going on. It's the way that you go to a planet and you get to see a people's culture and civilization, and when you interact with that people and how their culture is and what they do and what they find important, and discovering it with the player, with the character as the player, and really getting to see what's special about it. What do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? What is beautiful about it? So, I know this episode was kind of all over the place. Forgive me, I've just been not feeling great and I'm kind of out of it, so I just wanted to do something interesting. I didn't have any particular thing in mind as I looked through my list. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Happy holidays, and have a good day.